And that is what separates the people who go super fast from the people who stay stuck. If you're stuck at zero in the card market, it's not that you can't win, it's just that you're taking different actions than the people who are consistently making money with cards. Now, if you're new here, I'm Ryan Seaver. I've invested in sports cards since 2007, and in this video, I'm going to walk you through exactly where I'd focus to get unstuck and to start building momentum towards your goals. Let's dive into it. There are lots of ways to win with cards, and it's part of what makes this market so much fun is that we all get to kind of pick our own adventure, right? But some strategies work way better than others, and some are far more consistent than others. And sometimes I see folks that jump into this market without even having a strategy at all. And so that's the first tip for you today is to audit your strategy. So we want to make sure that anytime we're investing in a card, we know exactly why we're investing in it. We're never just buying our favorite players for fun or our favorite teams and hoping for the best or chasing the name that you saw someone mention on social media. That's a good way to get crushed in this market. And so let's stop doing that and let's start getting more strategic here and take a look at what's the reason why I think this card's value is going to rise. And then when do I think it's actually going to happen? And so I want you to go through your cards and actually ask that question of the last 5 or 10 cards that you've bought as an investment and just look at, can I actually name the why? Can I actually name the when? And if you can't, then we need to adjust our approach here so that you always can explain a logical investment thesis. And we're not always going to be right, and that's okay, but we want to at least make sure that we have a logical explanation for that. I can live with being wrong sometimes. What I can't live with is putting my money into something where I never had a game plan to begin with. So 3 of the strategies that I love for this are finding quick flip opportunities where we're creating profit margin when we buy the card because we're getting such a steep discount by finding a great deal out there. This does take work, but those deals are out there and you can make quick flips to make quick profits. The second one is grading. This requires tying up some money for a little bit of time, but we can basically force appreciate, like we can force our cards' values to rise by sending off cards to be professionally graded. And if we send the right cards and they get the grades that we need, we add a whole bunch of value on a schedule that we can control because we control what we send and when we send it. The third strategy I really like is playing the seasonal timing game and understanding the market swings and understanding when values are low for the season and when values pick back up for the season. And if we can understand those things, we can leverage those market swings to create profit margins for ourselves by buying when they're low and selling when they're high. Obviously, that's an oversimplification of the strategy, but just to give you a few ideas for the types of things that I like to do. And the reason for those 3 things is because I want to be in control of my business. I don't want to rely on hope or a blind wish or try to predict the future. I want to do strategies that I know that if I put in the right work, I can get some predictable results just based on the market patterns and understanding how the market actually works. So if I don't have a logical why and a logical when, I don't have a real strategy. I have a wish. And I'm sorry to break it to you, but you're just not going to wish your way to consistent money in the card market. The next thing I'd focus on is checking the math and making sure I have a plan that's actually going to get me to my goal. Anyone out there can say, I want to make $5,000 a month. I want to make $2,000 a month. I want to make $1,000 a month. I want to make $500 a month. But if you don't have a plan to get there, you don't have a strategy. You're not going to accidentally make $5,000 in this market. It just isn't going to happen. And so when I see people talking those big numbers, the question that I always want to ask is, okay, what's your plan to get there? What do the numbers look like? And oftentimes, if you actually dig into what they're doing, they don't have a path to get there. And that's why they're stuck. And so when you look at someone that wants to make $2,500 a month, but they're over here grading 10 cards a month that are worth $65 as PSA 10s if they all get PSA 10s. Like, guys, the math doesn't math there, right? Like we got to get to a point where we're actually doing the right actions that are going to lead to the result that we want. So what I'd recommend doing here is, yeah, you can have a big long-term goal and say, I want to make $7,000 a month or whatever. But what about the shorter term? Because we're not going to jump straight from 0 to $7,000 a month. What about 500 or 1,000 or something that's a little bit more realistic in the shorter term, especially as we're still building up our skills and getting to the point where we're developing some consistency here? And then what I want to do from there is backwards plan the exact actions that I need to take in order to get there. So it's not just, all right, I want to make 500 bucks this month. Done. Planning is over. No, we got to plan more than that. We've got to go another level deeper. What actions do you need to take? What strategies are you rolling out? How many cards do you need to buy of what value? And what's the upside on your grading order that you need to see in order to have a realistic chance? And how many cards do you need to buy in order to get that kind of upside? So when you break this down to a granular level, all of a sudden it becomes a work program instead of a wishing program where you don't just have this crazy goal out here with no plan to get there. You've literally laid out a plan and all you have to do is execute, and you're going to end up pretty close. We can't always predict every single outcome in this space, but we have enough control over the outcome if we are focused on the right strategies and we build out a plan like this, that it gives us a little bit more predictability than just hoping for the best. So check the math, because I bet that if you're not where you want to be right now, the math does not add up. Your actions right now do not align to your goal. And so if that's the case, fix it. I work with a ton of card investors inside the program that I run, and one of the biggest unlocks is always showing them the actual numbers and helping them see like, oh, I'm not even close to where I need to be. And so a big part of this is just helping lay out the math so that we have a concrete plan to get where we're trying to go. All right, next tip for you. So winners do the boring work. There are so many distractions in this market. There are so many different directions you could go and that you will be pulled if you hop onto social media and start looking at card content. And that doesn't mean that you should go in all those directions. What I've found to work best is really getting good at one, maybe two strategies, maybe a third, but that's about it. You don't have to do every single strategy. You don't have to do every single sport. You don't have to know the entire market like the back of your hand. What if you just zero in on one sport or one player even and get so good at that market that you end up being able to identify opportunities that other people just can't see because you have so many more repetitions than they do? That is an advantage in this market. And I'd much rather have that than be the person that's just like mediocre. You're going to have a hard time winning if you're below average at everything. So I would pick what actually works best for you, pick a strategy or two, pick your favorite sport or the one that you know the most about, and just align your investing with where your knowledge and your expertise actually is. And if you don't have any expertise, get some. These are learnable skills. Grading is a learnable skill. You figure out how to evaluate a card, and that skill transfers from one product to the next, from one year to the next, from one sport to the next, from one category to the next. You can use that skill over and over and over again, but you got to put in the work to learn it up front. And then the real unlock here is when you figure out what works, don't get cute. There's no need to go and do other things. You can't get bored and just jump ship on a strategy that works if you want to actually make money. Figure out what works and keep doing the thing that works. I think all too often we get bored with where we are and we say, well, I've done grading already, so I'm going to go over here and try this other thing. Like, no, grade cards. If that's what works for you, grade cards. If you're really good at picking players, fine, do that. Pick players. Get good at something that makes you money and then just keep doing that thing. If it's quick flips, great, do that. If you're great at negotiating, great, do that. Pick one thing or two things and just zero in on those things that work and keep doing them over and over and over again. If you're always starting over and trying to learn something from the ground up, you're never going to get those compounding returns because you're always going to be below average. I'd rather get really, really good and try to master one specific strategy and just be a beast at that one strategy. But so many people are out here trying to do a little bit of everything and getting distracted, and it ends up costing you money and holding you back. Do the boring work. All right, next one, treat your time like it's valuable. Because here's the thing, it is your most valuable asset. You can only put your attention in one place at a time. And that is what separates the people who go super fast from the people who stay stuck or just move very, very slowly, is that the people that are moving faster, they're not necessarily working harder. They don't necessarily know more about sports than you or have inside secrets. They just are putting their time in the right place. They're putting their attention on the right things. So I'll give you a few examples here. The first one is grade higher upside cards. So let's say you find a card that's 25 bucks, you pay another 25 bucks to get it graded, so you're into this thing for 50, and then you can sell it for 100 if it gets a PSA 10. Not a bad play, right? Like you can make a little bit of money there and you're moving forward for every single 10 that you get. But what if you put that same $50 into a different $25 card plus the $25 grading fee, but then as a PSA 10 it sells for $200? Those cards are out there, guys. They exist. But we're spending so much time on these lower upside cards that we just don't move as fast as someone that's spending time on the higher upside cards, where you're putting in the same amount of time no matter what, the same resources to buy and grade those cards, but one of those cards is worth twice the money as the other one and triple the profit of the other one. Imagine how much faster you could go if you made triple the profit. So grading higher upside cards is a big one. The second one is outsourcing low-end cards. I see so many people in this space say they want to make big money, but then they're spending 4 or 5 hours listing $2 cards on eBay and doing the scanning, the listing, the negotiating over 12 cents, the shipping. And it's like, all for what? Like, what are we spending that time on? You can spend the same amount of time on a $2 card to list that card and to negotiate and ship and all that stuff as you can with a $20 card or a $200 card or a $2,000 card. And sure, budgets are a thing. If we don't have $2,000 cards, we don't have them, but can you outsource those $2 cards? Can we get out of that work so that we can put our time into something that is going to give us a better return for the time that we're investing here? So what I like to do is look at my hourly rate, and I look at it like I want to make as much money as possible for every hour that I put into this business. I've got a busy life. I've got kids. I've got other stuff going on. So I don't have a million hours to put into my card business. I want to get as much as possible for the time that I can dedicate to it. When I was brand new, I started from the bottom of this market. I only had a few $100s. So I had all the time in the world. I had very little money and I had to grind my way up by doing those plays. But the thing that I see people doing is they just keep doing those same plays even after they've kind of graduated from them. At some point, you have to get to the next level and start taking actions that are a little bit more aligned to those bigger goals that you say you have. So that means getting outside your comfort zone, getting outside of those $2 cards and getting into $10 cards, and then get to $20 cards, and then get to $50 cards and $100 cards. Work your way up because you're going to be able to go so much faster. The absolute margin that's available on a $100 card versus a $1 card, it's night and day different. You're going to have a really hard time pushing to big goals if you're only flipping $1, $2 cards. It's a lot easier to sell one card for a $100 profit than it is to sell 100 cards for a $1 profit. And quite frankly, making $1,000 a month is very difficult to do if you're focused on $1 actions. All right, guys, last tip for you on this one. Don't quit. There's so many people that step into this market and they get flustered in 5 minutes and they give up. That's some childish nonsense. Can you have a backbone and just commit to something for more than 5 minutes? I know we live in the age of social media and our attention spans are 2 seconds at a time. You got to be able to commit to something if you want to build it into something that actually matters. My business took me years before I was making real money. Yours doesn't have to. There are shortcuts now because there's information like this video available to help you go faster. Take advantage of it, but you can't quit along the way or you're never going to get there. Over the years, I've seen a lot of card investors enter this market. Some succeed, some don't. And one of the biggest differences is the people who win are able to put in the work for a longer period of time without seeing immediate reward. That's it. That's the biggest difference because things take time. And I always think about it like it's really hard to expect to get any kind of real results if you just give it a month. It's hard to not get results if you commit to something for a year and you actually commit to learning and leveling up and making mistakes and learning from them and getting better and then trying again and keep going. And you give it a full year and then you're going to turn back and say, man, I can't believe how far we've come. But you can't quit along the way. So keep going. You can win with cards. You can. You just have to take the right actions and give it enough time to happen. All right, guys, if you apply these things, you're not going to stay stuck at zero for long. But the thing is, a lot of people take the comfortable actions, and it's time to step outside your comfort zone. If you're not where you want to be, you got to do something different. So fix these things and watch your business take off. Now, if this was helpful and you want more, you want to go deeper, and you want to level up faster, I run a program called Ignite where we've got over 100 card investors learning, leveling up, and winning together. It's so much fun. Would love to see you inside. I'll leave a link in the description with full details, but otherwise, we'll see you on the next video.